Welcome to the Explainer. Let's just jump right in, because there is a completely staggering reality in the corporate world right now. Roughly 70% of large-scale strategic initiatives absolutely fail to reach their stated goals. 7 out of 10. So if you've ever looked at a massive, incredibly complex organization and wondered, how do they keep everything moving in the exact same direction without descending into total corporate chaos? Well, you are in the right place. Today, we're unpacking this concept of strategic orchestration. We are going to look at exactly how the world's most successful industries transform scattered efforts, competing budgets, and completely siloed teams into a beautifully orchestrated symphony. Okay, let's dive into this, because it really brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How do big ideas actually get done? I mean, we all know that coming up with a grand, sweeping strategy in a comfortable boardroom, well, that's one thing. But taking that idea, pushing it down through layers and layers of middle management across thousands of employees and actually seeing it materialize in the real world, that is a completely different beast. Execution is exactly where most big ideas just fall apart. And honestly, it usually happens because of fragmented budgets, deeply entrenched departmental silos, and these wildly competing priorities. You know the drill. The sales team is heavily incentivized for one thing, while the engineering team is off building something completely different. Without a strong unifying force, execution literally just crumbles. Which brings us to Section 1, Vision meets Execution. So think of a grand organizational vision, kind of like a piece of sheet music. It might be beautifully written by the executive team, right? Full of incredible potential. But sheet music just sitting there on a stand doesn't make a sound. To actually bring it to life, you need an orchestra. And honestly, more importantly, you need a strategic conductor. Someone who knows exactly how to cue the strings, balance out the brass, and keep the tempo for the whole group. Well, that strategic conductor actually has a name in the business world: program management. It's the discipline that connects vision to execution across all sorts of diverse industries by orchestrating multiple initiatives under one unified framework. It is the ultimate unifier. We're not just talking about managing a single, isolated task here. It's about taking that sweeping vision and organizing the absolute myriad of moving parts required to actually achieve it. Consider, say, an old legacy company transitioning to a fully digital operation. That is not happening with just one project manager. It happens through program-level thinking. That's where IT infrastructure updates, employee retraining, and customer migration are all masterfully timed and executed under a single, cohesive umbrella. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it shows. When projects exist in silos, basically just making their own isolated noise, teams inevitably duplicate efforts, and they severely dilute their overall impact. The cost of siloed projects? It isn't just measured in wasted dollars, it's measured in lost market share and massive organizational friction. But when you actively ensure that projects are strategically aligned under one single framework, the entire paradigm shifts. Program management delivers outcomes that actively strengthen an organization's competitiveness, its resilience, and its capacity for really rapid innovation. It totally cuts out the redundancies. In fact, research consistently shows that aligned portfolios generate a significantly higher return on investment. Why? Because resources are fluidly directed toward the big overarching goal rather than getting trapped in individual project bottlenecks. Honestly, it's the difference between everyone aggressively playing their own individual tune and everyone playing the exact same symphony. Moving right along to Section 2, Tech, Manufacturing, and Finance. We're going to take a rapid-fire global tour of the orchestra sections, so to speak, to see how these massive sectors apply this discipline on the ground. We'll start with technology, manufacturing, and financial services. The sheer scale of these applications is just fascinating when you dig into the intersections. In technology, program management is the engine driving these massive digital transformations, wide-scale cloud adoption, and the rollout of agile practices. And these aren't independent silos. Think about it. Scaling cloud infrastructure inherently requires agile practices to be fully adopted by development teams so they can actually utilize that new speed. A program manager synchronizes those exact dependencies. Then, over in manufacturing, we see the coordination of lean initiatives right alongside complex automation rollouts and supply chain optimization. I mean, you literally cannot optimize a global supply chain if your fancy new warehouse automation software isn't speaking the exact same language as your procurement algorithms. Program management ensures they scale together. And then in financial services, wow, it is a high-wire act. They have to balance incredibly heavy, stringent regulatory compliance and rigorous risk management while simultaneously driving customer experience transformation. This unified framework is precisely what allows your bank to completely overhaul its mobile app for you while seamlessly integrating mandatory, complex security protocols in the background without missing a single beat. Next up, Section 3, Retail, Telecom, and Healthcare. Because the applications definitely don't stop with tech and finance. Let's transition to 3 sectors where these massive orchestrated shifts directly impact your daily life, often without you even realizing it. In retail, your everyday shopping experience is totally shaped by the careful orchestration of omnichannel strategies, inventory optimization, and loyalty programs. Let's use Black Friday logistics as an example. Always a crazy day. When millions of people are buying a product online, picking it up curbside, and automatically earning points on their mobile app, well, that requires an omnichannel strategy that is flawlessly connected to real-time inventory optimization. If those systems aren't perfectly aligned, you end up selling inventory you don't actually have, leading to a catastrophic customer failure on literally the biggest shopping day of the year. Behind that perfectly seamless customer experience is a program manager ensuring those incredibly complex, distinct projects are moving in absolute lockstep.
And the dynamic is just as critical in telecom. Every single time your cell signal gets a little more reliable, or you finally see that 5G icon pop up on your screen, you are experiencing the direct result of program management. Overseeing physical infrastructure upgrades across thousands of miles, coordinating national 5G rollouts, and transforming customer service. These are monumental, deeply overlapping initiatives. And here is exactly where the friction points lie. Upgrading physical cell towers means there will inevitably be localized service drops, right? And those service drops guarantee an immediate, massive influx of calls to customer service. Therefore, rolling out the new infrastructure absolutely must be timed perfectly with customer service preparation. These projects completely rely on each other and require a single guiding framework to succeed.
And then we have healthcare. Here, the stakes are quite literally life and death. The ultimate goal across the board is patient care improvement. But doing so today requires the rollout of really complex digital health platforms, which in turn must adhere to incredibly strict, completely non-negotiable compliance initiatives. Just imagine trying to deploy a massive new patient portal. You want it to be super user-friendly and highly accessible for the patient, obviously, but it also has to navigate the labyrinth of strict HIPAA compliance and robust data security. Actually, you can't have the UX team running a sprint completely detached from the legal and compliance teams. It just wouldn't work. Unifying these efforts under a program management framework ensures that security doesn't stall innovation, and innovation doesn't accidentally violate security. End of the day, it doesn't just improve efficiency in a hospital, it directly and profoundly improves patient care.
Finally, Section 4, the Symphony of Synergy.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core point we've been building toward across all these incredibly diverse sectors, from a chaotic retail floor on Black Friday to a hospital deploying a secure health app. The core mechanism remains exactly the same. The real power of this discipline is that it fundamentally transforms complexity into clarity. By aligning multiple chaotic projects with overarching strategic objectives, it illuminates the path forward. And when that strategic path is undeniable, it secures crucial stakeholder buy-in. Just imagine a boardroom where executives are staring at 50 completely disconnected project updates. It's a total mess, right? But when a program manager maps those projects directly back to the company's ultimate strategic goals, showing exactly how one feeds into the other, the entire narrative changes. The stakes become crystal clear. Everyone from the board of directors allocating the funding, right down to the frontline workers executing the tasks, understands the exact piece of sheet music they are reading from.
Which leads us to this incredible compounding outcome. Program management ensures synergy, delivering benefits far greater than the sum of their individual outputs. Look, if you run 3 isolated projects perfectly, you just get 3 good, separate results. But if you orchestrate them under one unified discipline, they compound. Think about a major new product launch. If the marketing initiative, the engineering build, and the supply chain upgrade are all perfectly aligned, then the product hits the market at the exact moment peak demand is generated, and the warehouses are already fully stocked to meet it. They literally feed off each other. This is the exact mechanism that enables organizations to adapt on the fly when, say, supply chain issues pop up out of nowhere. It allows them to continually innovate way ahead of their competitors and sustain a long-term advantage in what are intensely volatile markets.
So we've covered a massive amount of ground today, from the fundamental definition of strategic orchestration all the way to the complex ways it actively prevents failure in the tech, retail, and healthcare sectors. It is abundantly clear that bridging the gap between a lofty boardroom vision and gritty, ground-level execution is the ultimate differentiator in modern business. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to reflect on as we wrap up this explainer. Look closely at the initiatives happening around you right now at your own work. Is your organization orchestrating a symphony or just making noise? Are your projects isolated, constantly fighting each other for budget and attention? Or are they strategically aligned to deliver that massive compounding value we talked about? Because understanding that difference and applying the rigorous discipline of program management to bridge that gap is exactly how you turn a brilliant vision into an undeniable reality. Thanks so much for joining me to break this all down, and keep learning.